Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's 9 a.m. here in Florida. Some of you are joining us from different parts of the world. So, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are from. My name is Dr. Faizan Ali. Most of you may know me for these webinars and sessions that I do on research-based platform. So today is another such thing that we are doing. It's about qualitative methods. One of them is interviews, and many of us use interviews. However, based on our experiences, we have seen that people sometimes do not understand how to conduct interviews or what are types of interviews and stuff like that. So to deal with that, today I have invited a very good friend of mine who is also a regular contributor to Research Beast, Dr. Rabnawaz Lodhi from University of Central Punjab in Pakistan. He has some issues with the internet, so hopefully he will be with us very soon. Some of you may know from Pakistan that there's some problem with the internet. So hopefully he will be with us soon. I'm waiting for him, but meanwhile, there are a few things that I also wanted to announce. Now, I normally do these type of sessions quite a lot. So the easiest way for you to know about these sessions is to follow the Facebook page of Research Beast. That way we announce everything over there. Then you will have all the updates of whatever is happening, whatever we are planning, and then you can join us for these sessions. And there are quite a few things that we have planned in the upcoming months. So you won't regret following the page on Facebook. The other thing I wanted to say was on my YouTube channel, there are close to 14,000 subscribers right now. But in the last few months, I've seen that most of the videos are watched by people who are not subscribed. So if you are one of those people who have not subscribed to the channel, I would highly recommend you to subscribe to the channel because that way there's always videos that I upload. Those are not live sessions, but just videos that I upload. That way you will get a notification and then you can make yourself up to date with the recent methods and stuff. All right, so I see that quite a few people are saying hi, hello, hi to all of you. I would also recommend if you can put in the chat from where you are logged in today, where you are watching from. That would also help us to know the breadth of our viewership. All right, so while I'm waiting for Dr. Rabnawaz Lodhi to get online, what I can do is I can take some questions. How about that? Maybe we can do that. That's pretty cool. So if you have any questions about research methods and stuff like that, put them into the chat, and I will try to answer your questions. Thank you, Megha from India, and thank you, Professor Hanna from Ukraine for joining. Nadia, welcome from Pakistan. Also, Nana, welcome from Pakistan. So if you have any questions, please post them into the chat. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Gohan, welcome from Turkey. KC Chi from Malaysia, welcome. Shagufta from Pakistan, welcome. All right. So, all right, so we have Dr. Lodhi with us. Okay, Asad is saying that a detailed video on literature review and the pitfalls. So Asad, there is a very good video on literature review. Actually, it's one of the most watched videos on the channel about what is literature review and how can you conduct literature review. I can put the link to that video into the chat. You can watch that. That would help you quite a bit. Also, there's another video that was done, also quite a watched video, is about systematic literature review. So both of those videos are available on the channel. You are more than welcome to check them out. I'll send the links on the chat. And then also there's another request from Sonal about a coding manual in qualitative research. I'm sure that Dr. Lodhi is going to talk about that today. So we have Dr. Lodhi with us. I'm going to add him to the stream. Hello, Dr. Lodi. Welcome and good evening, because it's good evening in Pakistan.
Hello, Dr. Fazan. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah.
Okay. So, Dr. Lodi, your internet issue is okay now?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Perfect. Okay. Very good. So I was just trying to entertain people until you are logging in. I see that quite a lot of people are joining us from different parts of the world, so that's pretty good. It's a good opportunity to talk to people from different parts of the world. Okay, so one last thing that I wanted to announce before we get into this. Now, most of the stuff that I do is free to attend. There's no charge to anything, but I also am part of several social issues. And in my email, I mentioned if anybody wants to contribute, I'll send a separate email. There's no pressure, nothing. You can contribute whatever you want, and those would be used towards some social issues or social problems that we are facing. And I'm more than willing to share the details of whatever we are doing in terms of social issues and solving social issues. So please contribute if you can. If you cannot, that's completely fine. There's no pressure over there. Dr. Lodi, I will not take more of your time, and I'll just invite you to take the stage and please proceed with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fazan. And please confirm, can you see my screen?
All right, here we go with your screen. Okay. Yes, Dr. Lodi, your screen is here. It's visible. Please go ahead.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much. So, respected audience, professors, PhD scholars, and the researchers, I formally welcome to all. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are at this particular time. So, today we are going to discuss a very wonderful topic on conducting in-depth interviews, and I would like to also talk about little bit more on thematic analysis and data coding in this particular webinar. So, audience, I would like to thank Dr. Faizan for giving me this particular opportunity to share my views. My name is Dr. Rab Nawaz Lodi, and I'm associate professor at the UCP Business School of University of Central Punjab, Lahore, Pakistan. I'm also visiting research scholar at M3 Center of Mumma College of Business, University of South Florida, United States of America. So, audience, today we would like to talk about conducting in-depth interviews. So, when we talk about conducting in-depth interview, it's mean we need in-depth information. So, why we need in-depth information? Because in-depth interview is conducted in qualitative research. So when you are conducting the qualitative research, you need to conduct the in-depth interview because you need in-depth information. So there are different levels of information. Some informations, are on the surface level, and the some of the information on the depth level. So you need to dig out some new realities, new theories, and we commonly use that particular terminology, immersion. Immersion mean sinking until covered completely with the water. So here it's mean sinking in the knowledge, and until unless you discover a new knowledge, new theory, you need to be stay there, and when you will come back, you will have a new theory or new ideas. So this is the purpose of conducting in-depth interviews. So you need to be very close with your respondent, with your interviewee, and there are different possibilities. You can conduct one-to-one interviews, you can conduct the panel interview, you can conduct the focus group interview, and there are different types of channels of conducting the interview. You can conduct non-recorded interviews, or you can conduct the interviews on recording with the help of some recording devices like camera. So conducting qualitative interview is this is not the newcomer, this is not the new job or new method in qualitative research, because if we go back thousands of years back, so there were some historians who provided some historical evidences about the past ancient times, about the people, how they lived, how they communicated, and how they exchanged the goods and services. So all the history about their lives are available. So conducting the qualitative interview is not the newcomer in qualitative research. So this is the reason that in today's age, in this era, the mode of conducting qualitative interview is different as compared to the people who were conducting the qualitative interviews in the ancient times. So now there are modern techniques, modern devices, and tools, and the way of conducting interviews entirely different, but more effective, more efficient, and more reliable. So there is more chances of reliability and validity of the data, and same you can also evaluate the validity and reliability of your interviews, because the assessment of quality of the interview is so much easy in this age as compared to if we compare the qualitative interviews of the ancient times, or the qualitative interviews the people who were engaged conducting the qualitative interviews in the past studies. So when we talk about qualitative interviews, what do you mean by, what is the purpose of conducting qualitative interview? If we go for defining that particular interview, we need to focus on the purpose of interview. So the purpose of interview is to collect the information about the opinion. So one thing we should keep in your mind, that opinion is not the argument, it is only the unwarranted claims. And if there is lack of warrants, like the theoretical warrants or the empirical or logical or practical, then definitely that would be the weak statement. And but it depends on the objective of the study. If your objective is just to collect the opinion, not the complete concrete statement. For example, now everywhere in the world, people are facing the worst problem of COVID-19. So we can get the information about the opinion of the people, because they have no strong arguments upon the medications, and the once time a very significant vaccine for the coronavirus. Because in Pakistan we observed that after six months, or maybe because it is not about only the single dose of vaccine. So people are taking more than one dose of vaccine. So there are different development of stages of vaccine. So now people are predicting their future after the corona, and businesses, the model of businesses. And because corona has affected almost all fields of life, so now people are giving their opinion. So ultimately, if the researcher wants to get some very weak statements, so that could be this information that the researcher will collect through the qualitative interviews. So the second purpose of conducting the qualitative interviews or the interview is to assess the behavior toward a particular issue. So behavior mean the action and reaction. If we talk about behavior, behavior is the outcome of your attitude. Behavior is the outcome of your cognition. So cognition mean what is in your mind. So your mind is busy in processing the data and the information. So the data, how the data comes in your mind, the information comes in your mind. There are series of different activities. Like for example, first the people experience anything. Like if you put your finger on the burning candle, so you will feel that this is very, this is not good for you. So ultimately, if you experience a burning candle, and your experience will lead toward your perception, your feelings, and your feelings will lead towards your perception, and your all cognitive model, your mental, your activities will be started. And ultimately, whatever is going on in your mind is called your cognition. So outcome of your cognition is your behavior. So what is in your mind, it will reflect through your behavior. So when we are conducting the qualitative interview, so there is another purpose of conducting the qualitative interviews, that we assess the behavior or predictive behavior toward a particular issue, or toward a particular phenomena. For example, in marketing activities, we predict the behavior of the consumers. So there are different theories, like different consumer theories. And if I go for another example, which is relating to the technology acceptance. So ultimately, in technology acceptance model, TAM model, which is a very famous model, we also assess the attitude, as well as perception, attitude, and actual behavior, actual usage of that particular technology. So we cover all the cognition as well as the behavior dimensions in one single model, which is known as a TAM model. So through the interview, we also ask about the behavior of the people. So attitude is also very important, and I already discussed that your feelings will lead towards your perception and attitude. So attitude, maybe your positive attitude or negative attitude, will be built based on your past feelings or your past experience. So ultimately, the outcome of your attitude will become in the shape of action or reaction. So we also ask about the different questions regarding the attitude toward a particular phenomena, then feelings, and then preferences, and then knowledge. So we also conduct the interviews to assess the feelings, preferences, or knowledge of a particular person. So when we talk about interview regarding the job interviews, so in job interviews, normally the interviewer assess the knowledge of the interviewee. So that is the purpose of conducting the interview. So if we talk about the qualitative interview, we put only one thing, that is in depth. So we are not only going to have or explore or ask the information about the opinion, behavior, attitude, feeling, or preference, or knowledge. We also going to dig out, we also going to get the in-depth information, in-depth information about opinion, in-depth information about the behavior, attitude, feeling, preferences, and in-depth knowledge. So we do not go for the surface knowledge. We need to check the picture. We need to check the picture from the different angle. So we need to check. We need to go behind the picture. What is the story behind the picture? So this is the purpose of conducting the qualitative interviews, in-depth interviews. So this is the advantage, our questionnaire. So if you distribute the questionnaire, there are some structured options available. Like, for example, if you go for the quantitative questionnaire, structured questionnaire, and there are some options in the Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So you limit the opinion or the response of the respondent, that the respondent need to give the response under the brackets of that particular two extremes. So, but in qualitative interview, we give the opportunity to the respondent to give open opinion and give detailed information about that particular issue, information or opinion, or show the behavior, anticipated behavior, attitude, feeling, preferences, all these kinds of things we are looking in depth, not on the surface level. So there are different steps of conducting the qualitative interviews. The first thing is determine your goal. So if you're not clear in your goal, what you need to ask from the people who are your respondents, who are participating in your qualitative interviews. So ultimately, you will be unable to achieve your targets, your goals. So one thing I would suggest you all, that after conducting the qualitative interview, one question you need to ask from yourself, that either you are successful to ask or to dig out or to explore the information from the respondent, which is exactly matches with your main objective or not. So if you're unable to explore that particular information, it's mean you are not successful in conducting the qualitative interview, because you have not achieved your research objectives are different, and your interview goals are different. So your interview goals must be aligned with your research objectives. So when you set your research objectives, according to your research objectives, you need to set your interview goals. So goals mean your targets, what you want to achieve. So definitely you want to achieve according to your objective of your study. So there must be coherence, there must be alignment, there must be, signpost. Signpost mean the previous things will be giving the signs that what is coming in the next stage. So this is very important. So your objectives should be signpost with your the objective of your interviews. So that is very important. So when you're going to conduct the interview, you must need to clarify your objective, what you need to explore from the in-depth interview. And there are different possibilities, and there are different type of respondents. For example, if you're conducting the interviews with the elite peoples, so conducting interviews with the elite peoples like chief executive officers or the top level management of the company would be entirely different as compared to the conducting interviews with the children. So if you're going to conduct the interview with the children, then definitely you need to engage them with different toys or different play activities, and you need to get their responses, like the in-depth responses. But if we talk about you are going to conduct the interviews of the elite people, then definitely you need to check their availability, and if they are willing to give you interview, and if they are willing to give their time to and information, then definitely you need to keep very different sensitive points in your mind, because sometimes elite people do not give the complete information about the company, or maybe about themselves, because of some repute issue. So maybe if they disclose something which should not be disclosed, then definitely after giving the interview, they may feel some fear that if I provide that particular information, then definitely it will badly hit my image or the image of my company. So ultimately, there would be a very good relation of trust between the interviewer and the interviewee. So if there is lack of trust, and if your interviewee is not trusting on the interviewer, then definitely he will conceal the information. He will be reluctant to give the information, and ultimately you will unable to achieve your interview goals. So this is very important. So you need to determine your goal, and your goals must be according to your research objectives, and you need to keep a lot of things in your mind, that what kind of respondents you are going to have during your qualitative interviews. The second thing is the second step while you are conducting the qualitative interview is target the people to interview. So according to your research objectives, you need to set your interview objectives, and according to your interview objectives, you need to check that there are different people who can give you interview, but you need to shortlist them. So same if we talk about the job interview, when you receive the CVs, you need to shortlist the CVs, then you call the people for the interview. So ultimately, after shortlisting, you will have the good list of your respondents. For example, there are different criterias of shortlisting if you're conducting the interviews of the people who are working in the organization. So if your study is relating to that particular organization or the systems of that particular organizations, then definitely you need to set your criteria, like the total time of working of that particular person in that organization matters a lot. So if you conduct the interview with those people who have more experience with that particular organization, then definitely they will be able to give you the in-depth information. So as compared to those people who just joined a few days or few months back, that particular organization. So you need to set different criteria regarding their experience, regarding their qualification, regarding their field of study. So then after shortlisting, you need to target your people, your interviewees, who will be participating in your in-depth interview activity. So this is very important. And the third thing is, which is designing the interview questions or interview protocol. That is very, very important while you are planning your interview questions, because you need to divide your research objectives into different questions. So each question will be aligned with your research objectives, and you should avoid asking the irrelevant or illogical questions which are not relating to your study. So you need to be very precise, you need to be very focused, and if there is lack of focus, ultimately you will have some irrelevant information which will not be supporting your main argument or the main goal of your study. So ultimately, you need to be very careful while you are defining the interview questions. So interview questions is the interview protocol. So I can show you different types of interviews in the later stage in today's webinar, that how we develop the interview protocol, what are the different questions you need to ask during the interview protocol, you need to set in your interview protocol. So for example, you start from the very general question. So you do not start from the very specific or the negative question. So there are possibilities that you're going to conduct the study on very tragic or traumatic situation of a person, that particular person have been undergone that particular condition. So but that particular condition, if you are asking very negative question, very traumatic questions in the beginning, ultimately you will not have the good connection or the very good relation with your interviewee. So if you disturb, and ultimately he will be unable to give you the in-depth information, maybe he will not be comfortable. So you need to allow your interviewee to be very open, and to be very comfortable with you during the interview. So this is very important. So while you are designing your interview question, you need to put some general questions in the beginning and some specific questions relating to your study in the middle, and then definitely you need to convey that this is the start of interview and this is the end of interview. So in the end of the interview, you need to put some greetings, or you need to put some very open unstructured statement, that anything else would you like to say something about that particular issue. So that would be totally unstructured statement you may ask in the last, as the last question of your interview protocol. So this is very important while you are designing the interview protocol. So interview protocol is just like a document we prepare for the quantitative research. We prepare the questionnaire as the instrument for conducting the quantitative survey. So similarly, interview protocol is a document, and the document contains different set of questions. So we use interview protocol for conducting the qualitative interviews. Similarly, I have given the example of questionnaire. So it is entirely different from questionnaire, because in questionnaire we have very structured questions, we have very closed-ended questions. But in interview protocol, we have open-ended questions, and sometime while you are conducting the unstructured interviews, then there is no need of interview protocol. So in unstructured interview protocol will be developed on the later stage. So while you are starting the unstructured interview, in the later stage, you may convert it into the semi-structured, or in the end, you convert it into the structured interviews. So that would be, funneling from the very broad area, and you will be moving toward very narrow areas. So it depends upon the study. So the next step is educate the respondent about your study. So maybe if your respondent is very expert in that particular field, practical field, but maybe academically he is unaware about some terminologies you apply, you use in different research papers, you study in different research papers, and you're using in your study. So those kinds of different terminologies, you need to share the meaning of those terminologies with your respondent, with your participant before conducting the interview. So that would be the mock interview. So mock interview is very important. So before going for the recorded interview, you can conduct a mock interview or the pre-interview. So it would be very, if the person is coming to your place, you need to serve tea or juice or other types of refreshment, and you need to ask different questions that what you are doing, and yes, you are feeling very well, and now you're looking very nice. So these kinds of questions, these kinds of comments you may pass to make him or her very comfortable to give the information during the interview. So if your interviewee is not very comfortable and you just start and open your camera and start the recording and ask the questions, one question and the second question and this third question, so your interview will be very confused that maybe he feel that he is giving the job interview, and after the interview maybe you will reject him or her. So this is basically the problem, and during the interview, so you need to control these kinds of problems or issues, because when you conduct the mock interview, then it will allows the you and your respondent to understand that particular study, that particular issue, and then you will be able to ask the different questions. Why? Because you will have the idea that now your respondent, your participant is very well aware about that particular issue. So according to your understanding, that your respondent has the understanding. Now, this is your understanding that your respondent knows about that particular issue. So according to that particular understanding, you will ask the different questions and you will move the questions from the very general perspective to the very specific perspective. So mock interview is very recommended before conducting the recorded interview, or any kinds of like very formal interview, unrecorded interview. So the fifth step after the mock interview will be the actual conduct of interview. So when you're going to conduct the interview, actually, practically, there are different problems, and you need to engage your interviewee in your study, and you need to start the questions. I already discussed. You need to make a very comfortable environment, and you need to ask very positive questions. And in the middle, you may ask some traumatical questions or some if that particular person has been undergone some tragic conditions like in the past, or some traumatic conditions in the past, then definitely you need to avoid to ask some very negative questions to involve him or her in some negative situation or state of mind. So this is very important. So your eye contact matters a lot. If you are asking the question but you are seeing your mobile phone, your cell phone, then definitely it will not give the good impression to your interviewee. So maybe he will be feeling something like boring, that you are not focused, very focused. And you need to also give some non-verbal cues, non-verbal signals that yes, I'm understanding. Yes, you may show your body language that yes, I'm understanding what you're saying. So this is very important. So when you will be involved and you will take interest of the information whatever your interviewee is telling, then definitely he will be or she will be very comfortable to give you the information, in-depth information. So this is very important. So while you are conducting the qualitative interviews, there are some suggestions what you need to do during the interview, and what types of question you should avoid. So there are different types of questions. So during the conduct of interview, if you're conducting the qualitative interview, so you need to ask some probing question. So these are some types of questions which are very important and recommended during the qualitative interview. So probing mean when you need some more information. So you need the same question with the different angle. So that would be the probing question, and further you can divide the main question into the sub questions. So step by step you can ask the questions from your interviewee. So ultimately your interviewee will be comfortable in providing the information, step by step or chronologically. So if you're asking the information about some different span of times, so maybe you start from the past events and then chronologically you move toward the current conditions or the current time period. So this is very important. You need to ask some probing question. And same, we can say these are the some follow-up questions. And when you float some questions and when you ask some questions, then you need to step by step ask some more questions to probe and to explore and to dig out some more information, relevant information from the respondents. So this is very important. So it also allows you to check the double meaning of a particular phenomena. So when your respondent is giving you the information and opinion or knowledge, sharing the knowledge about a particular phenomena, then you can double check it by asking the question from another question in another way. So this is very important, and these are some important types of questions you need to ask during the interview. And I would like to share that some of the questions or type of question you should avoid during the qualitative interviews. For example, the first one is double barrel questions. So when we talk about double barreled questions, it's mean you're asking two things in one question. Two things in one questions mean, for example, if you're asking from your interviewee that what do you think about the speed of car and speed of truck? So do you think that the speed of car and speed of truck should be low? So maybe your interview will give the answer that yes, speed of truck should be low, but speed of car should be average. So if you're asking one question, but you're covering two different aspects, so that is the double barrel question. So if you are using some double barrel questions in the interview, then ultimately your interviewee will be confused, and maybe on one aspect he is willing to give yes, and on another aspect he is willing to give you the answer in no. So then if you're asking the question in only one statement, then he will be confused that yes, somehow in this aspect I can say yes, but on another aspect I can say no. So avoid these kinds of double barrel questions. And then there are some leading questions or loading questions. So if you're imposing something and you if you impose something on your interviewee, then your interview will be very biased, because you are imposing your biases, your knowledge, your opinion. And if you're imposing such kind of statements, or you are using such kind of statements, you are imposing such kinds of expected answers on your interviewee, then ultimately your interview will be very biased, and it will not represent the true information from your respondent. So it will be biased, it will represent your own information in the interview. So ultimately you should avoid the leading questions or loading questions. So when we talk about leading questions, so we can have the example that have you stopped beating your wife? So ultimately, if you're asking that, have you stopped beating your wife? It's mean if the respondent will say yes, yes, I have stopped beating my wife. It's mean previously he was used to beat his wife. So if he say no, it's mean he is still beating his wife. So these types of leading questions, we should avoid these kinds of leading or loading questions. So these are some, questions we should avoid during the qualitative interview. Then there is another type of question which is relating to the controversial questions, like if you are asking some sensitive information about the religious, about or any political views. So everyone has different political views, and people have different religion, different different types of ideologies and beliefs. So ultimately, if you're asking the question, so you should be very careful. So maybe sometime some religious questions are very sensitive questions, and it may lead toward a very sensitive consequences or allegations on the interviewer. So interviewer or maybe interviewee, if he is providing, the interview is providing some sensitive information very carefully. So the interviewer should avoid asking such kind of questions during the interview. So this is very important. So while you are conducting the interview, there are different types of opinion about the people that this is truth, and someone said that this is truth, this is reality, and there is another person who is saying that this is truth. So now what we need to do, we need to combine all the interviews. We may go for the commonalities and we may go for the differences. So particularly in semi-structured interviews, we have different opinion of different people on a particular issue. Because we designed the interview protocol, our interview protocol is based on the semi-structured interview. So if you have some semi-structured, somehow structured, then definitely it's mean you are asking the same information from the different people. But if we talk about the unstructured interview, then definitely you don't have any kind of interview protocol in the beginning. So there is no structured in unstructured interview. So when you will go for the conducting of interviews, everybody will provide different informations. There would be different questions. There would be different answers. So it would be difficult to compare all the interviews. But in case of semi-structured interviews, when you will have some protocols, some questions, and you are asking the same questions from the different people, then definitely you will have the opportunity to compare all the interviews. You can check their commonalities and their differences. So if all these people are telling different meaning of reality, so you need to check what are their common points and what are their differences. So in this way, the next particular diagram is depicting the way of comparing all these interviews. For example, if you have three interviews, interview one, interview two, and interview three, you need to integrate all the interviews. This is one way. And the second way is you need to compare the interviews, like in this particular comparison way. For example, if you're conducting the interview of two people, like individual self B and individual self A, so there is possibility that individual self A is providing you this information, and the individual self B, the second respondent, is providing you this particular information. And you can see that there is common area, commonalities, overlapping area. And in this overlapping area, you are comparing that both these respondents are telling the same reality. They are telling the same truth. They have the same experience. So this is basically the area where they are giving the different information. So we are looking for the commonalities, and as well as we are also looking for the differences. So in the interviews, while you are comparing the different interviews, then you need to check the commonalities. So when you go for the commonalities, you can code the data in the similar type of codes or similar type of themes. So these themes, common themes, will be similar, and the common themes have more frequency of coding. So while you are conducting the content analysis and you will have the number of codings, then definitely after defining the themes, if you go for the content analysis and if you go for the um, for the number of repetition of coding, then your common areas will be showing the more significant themes or more frequencies, because most of the people are saying that particular reality, and this is the common area. But if you go for the different themes, or if you conduct the content analysis, you will have less frequency of those particular themes which are falling in that particular different area. So these are basically non-common area, but the central area, overlapping area, is the area where the realities are matching, and both the respondents are telling the same reality, same meaning, or same experience. So in this way you can compare. So there are two ways. Number one is to integrate all the interviews, and the second way is to compare the interviews. So in unstructured interviews, where the information is totally different, in unstructured interviews there is no protocol in the beginning. So if all the information is different, like the interview in first interview in information is entirely different, and in the second interview information is entirely different, in the third interview information is entirely different, maybe the minor information may be overlapping, but the major information is totally different, then you will go for that particular strategy, which is integrating the findings of all interviews. So this particular strategy will be very helpful while you are conducting the unstructured interview. But when you are conducting the semi-structured interview, then you need to go for this comparison method. You need to check the commonalities, you need to check some differences. So I'm going to show you another diagram of Venn diagram. So this is also the same which we are already discussed on the previous slide. So this is the S is basically the common area where A, B, and C, all these interviews are overlapping. So A, B, C are the three interviews, and you are comparing that the common area and overlap. This particular area is overlapping, and you need to check that these are the common points or the common experiences of the people, of your respondents, and these are some different areas. So you need to check both. You may go for the commonalities, or you may be very interested to know why these people are telling the different stories. So if you're interested to explore something new, why they are telling the different stories, then you need to go for the difference points of differences. So if you are interested to go for the commonalities, common areas, then that particular overlapping area will be very helpful in that particular kind of study. So this is Venn diagram, very common, developed by Aristotle, and we apply while we conduct some logical analysis on different types of things. So in logic, this is very common Venn diagram. So now the next thing is, I already discussed the different types of questions during my discussion. There are three types of questions. This first one is unstructured question, unstructured interview, and the second one is semi-structured interview, and the third one is structured interview. So when we talk about unstructured interview, so it is commonly known as the ethnographical interview. So I want to show you a particular diagram regarding the ethnography, because when we talk about ethnography, it is all about immersion. Immersion means sinking until covered completely with the water. So in research, we use this particular terminology. You need to go in a particular culture and you need to stay there, and you need to conduct the interviews of different people. You need to observe different realities, and you need to develop different focused different field notes. Whatever you observe from your surroundings, you need to document all those realities. So these kinds of things you need to document, you need to put on the paper, and during your ethnographical study. So this is very important. So, in when we talk about unstructured interview, it is also known as ethnographical interviews. So, in ethnography, when the researcher enters in a particular culture, he must conduct some unstructured interviews. Unstructured interview. There is no protocol. There is no protocol. Normally, in ethnographical studies, the researcher has no protocol about the culture, about the values, about their behavior, about their beliefs, so about their language. So ultimately, he has something broad objectives in his mind about the culture, because he's going to explore the culture. So culture includes a lot of things. So in the beginning, the researcher do not structure the things in the interview. So researchers start the interviews from very unstructured way. So then after some time, because these are some longitudinal studies, so after spending some time, when the researcher is very comfortable with the respondents or with the community of that particular culture or village, then ultimately the researcher, after some time understanding about the particular culture, their values, their language, their beliefs, the researcher may go for designing the interview protocol for the semi-structured interview. So maybe when he will be closing all the ethnographical activities and he is going back to his hometown, and before leaving that particular village, he may go for some structured interviews, but he must start from the unstructured, and from very general to very specific. He moved in this way. So when we talk about the unstructured interview, it is also known as the ethnographical interview, unstructured interview. So the second type of interview is semi-structured interview. So when we talk about semi-structured interview, we must have some questions, like, for example, if you're going to ask the question, what are the different impacts of COVID-19? So you need to categorize what are the different impacts on business, what are the different impacts on psychology of the people, what are the different impact of COVID on health, and what are the different impacts of COVID on their routine activities. So these are some categories. So in semi-structured interviews, you need to define different categories in your interview protocol. You need to start the questions from very general, like the demographic information of the respondent, and then you need to move toward some specific questions. But those questions will be the questions in some categories. So you need to ask some antecedents or the reasons or the determinants of a particular phenomena, or you may go for the consequences or the output of a particular phenomena. So you need to categorize those antecedents or the consequences into different questions, and those questions will be your questions in the interview protocol of your semi-structured interview. So the third interview is also very important, which is known as the structured interview. But if we talk about structured interview, it is also known as the survey interview. So normally we conduct this structured interview in quantitative research, not in qualitative research. So this is very common, but it is you need to fix your time, you need to fix your focus. The questions are very focused. You need to ask some close-ended questions, some objective questions, and some very structured questions. So this kind of interview you may conduct, but not in qualitative. Particularly in quantitative research, you may go for conducting some structured interviews. But in qualitative research, you need to dig out more realities. That's why the unstructured or the semi-structured interviews are more suitable as compared to the structured interview. So these are very important in qualitative research. So these are the different types of interviews which we discussed. And now I would like to show you these interviews that this particular person is the interviewer and that particular person is interviewee. So he will be giving the interview and he will be taking the interview. So he will be asking the question. For example, if I say A person is the interviewer and B person is the interviewee. So A person will ask the question and B person will give the answer. So you may
Dr. Lodi,
yes
excuse me.
please.
Well, the session is going pretty well, but there are quite a few questions that are coming in. So, is it okay if we take like a few questions before we proceed?
Okay, we may proceed because we need to invite two people for
Yes.
the activity. So I just need to play this video and then
Okay.
stop. It will not take much time. And then
Okay.
after that particular activity, we will have some questions from the audience.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Jeff Cowan. I'm the youngest brother of Graham Cowan, the author of Back. My name's Jeff Cowan. I'm the youngest brother of Graham Cowan, the author of Back from the Brink and Back
Okay,
from the
Dr.
Brink.
Fazan, I need to
out in
confirm, can
September.
you hear the
One of
voice
the
of
things
that particular video file?
research that Graham's done.
I can hear it. I just need to check with people on YouTube if
Okay,
everybody.
that's perfect. That's
Just put on the chat if you can hear the audio.
okay. And then there is another way of conducting the interview where you can just record the video of your interviewee.
The worst thing about depression is that when you're in it, it's hard to recognize. I mean, take me. I'm a fireman. And over time, the normal day-to-day pressure work just got to be too much. And then my wife had to go.
Okay, during the interview, you need to assess the body language of your interviewee. So this is also very important, particularly in discourse and conversational analysis.
Let alone how awful I was feeling. It's a cliche, but it was like a black cloud was following me around. Anyway, I do feel better now. I've had treatment, which is ongoing.
Okay. Now, while you are conducting the interview, you may write some things on the paper. So that would be your unstructured interviews. In case of unstructured interview, you write the things on the paper. So sometime you observe some surroundings, you observe some areas, and you also put the things on the paper, and that is the field note. So field note may contains the information from the unstructured interviews and from the observation. So it depends. So it is very common in ethnographical study. Then I would like to discuss transcript. So the interview transcript is the conversion of your video or audio recorded data into textual format. So this is also very important, and there are number of softwares available. You can put the video or audio in those particular softwares, and software automatically transcribe, and there is accuracy up to 95%. That if the interview is in English and the software is supporting that particular language, for example, the English language, then you can transcribe automatically. Transcribers are available. Otherwise, you need to put your headphone. You need to listen that particular statement. Then you need to write the statement one by one. So it is very labor extensive activity. And Vivo software is also providing the transcriber in the latest version. But it is paid ads in feature. You need to pay more. Only 15 minutes video is free of cost on the trial basis. So this is also very important. So audience, now I can also show you that after conducting the interview, we may go for the thematic analysis. And there are wonderful tools available like word trees, tree maps, word clouds, tag clouds, in en vivo software for conducting the thematic analysis, for conducting the grounded theory, for conducting the content analysis. There are different types of analysis we can apply using en vivo software. So my videos are available on the channel of Dr. Faizan. If you go on the research-based channel of YouTube, you will find my different videos on conducting the thematic analysis or qualitative analysis using en vivo software. So audience, now this is the time for the polling activity, and I would like to ask this particular question. But before that particular question, and taking the response from your side, I would like to invite Dr. Shiva and Miss Sadia Gondal. Dr. Shiva is from International Cyprus University, and Dr. Sadia Gondal is from University of Engineering and Technology, UET Lahore. So I would like to invite them
Sure.
for a
Dr. Lodi, so you want to do the poll while I'm getting Dr. Shiva and Sadia into the session. I would request the participants to either use the QR code. You can scan the QR code and take part in that one question. If not, I will also put a link to the website where you can simply, if you are on your computer, you can simply use this link, which I just posted in the chat box. So you can just go to that and then answer the questions. Then we can show those responses onto the screen. Okay, so this is good. Now I am going to get Dr. Shiva into the session. Hello, Shiva, welcome. Okay, Shiva, let me unmute you. Shiva, you are mute, so please unmute yourself.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Lodi and Dr. Faizan.
Hello, Dr. Shiva.
Thank you for your invitation.
Of course. And then now we will also get Sadia. So Sadia is also into the session now. Sadia, you are also mute, so please make sure you unmute yourself.
That's why just 2 seconds required.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, you can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are good. I am getting some responses in the chat. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share this screen so that we can also have a look at the responses. Okay, so Dr. Lodhi, if you can hear me, these are the responses we are getting right now here. So the question that you asked was, what was the most repeated mistake you observed during the interview? And then you can see that respondent is not well aware about the issue, and ignorance of emotions and body language are the ones that people have voted most. We'll see. And it will keep changing. So we're going to give it a minute or
we
two.
are getting the responses, and during these responses, we need to conduct the interview of Dr. Shiva with Dr. Sadia. So after that particular first round of interview, I would suggest the respondent to give your responses on that particular poll. Thank you.
Okay.
So now over to you, Dr. Sadia. Thank you. I'm going to stop my camera.
Beside the masjid in my house, so we'll not be able to hear. So just if a minute can be provided to me and we can start. Just a minute. It's about to end. It's about to end. Thank you very much. It's about to end.
Okay, so Dr. Lodi, can we have you back, Dr. Lodi? I don't know, are you here or not yet?
Yes, Dr. Faizan, I can hear your voice. I think in the respect of Faizan, we are waiting, and then Dr. Sadia will start the interview of Dr. Shiva. So there would be 2 rounds of interview. In the first round of interview, Dr. Shiva Dr. Sadia will conduct very pathetic interview, like the interview with having a lot of mistakes. So according to those mistakes, I would request the audience to observe those mistakes and give your responses on the polling thing. So after that particular polling, we will go for the second round of interview, and that particular interview will be, the error-free interview, and that would be a very wonderful, very amazing interview of Dr. Sadia with Dr. Shiva. So now I would like to request Dr. Sadia to start the interview of Dr. Shiva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody over here. Thank you very much, Dr. Faizan. Thank you very much, Dr. Shiva, for joining us. And thank God, Dr. Shiva, you're on time. I was thinking might be you will not come on time because every interviewee does that. But good that you're on time. Thank you. Okay, so my first question.
Sorry, I cannot hear you at all.
Okay, so
Okay,
can
now
you
I
hear me
think
now? Okay,
I
can you
can.
hear me now clearly?
Yes,
Okay,
this is.
can you hear me now clearly? Okay, so sorry for the interruption. Okay, Dr. Shiva, I'm so glad you're here and on time because mostly people do not come on time. And by the way, I texted you that I'm going to interview you on group studies, so I hope you remember that. So no need to go for the introduction. So let's start abruptly and quickly because we are short of time.
Okay. Sorry, I think you're in. We have an internet connection problem. I cannot hear you properly. You disconnect again the times that you are going to ask a question.
Okay. My question is, does the group study help in better understanding of the subject and in better grades?
Okay, as what I believe that I think so that it can help. It is a good idea that we are going to ask the students to do some activity as a group activities as a for project or for some assignment during the sessions of the courses that we have. And about the grading, it depends on the type of the activity. It depends on about how we are going to describe it. We cannot say necessarily it can help them the higher grade because of the
Mhm.
activity they are doing. It depends on the type of the activity that they are going to do. We are going to give them the grade. But still, it depends on the students. It depends on the activity. We can define that grading during the session.
Okay. So let's go on to the next question. And the next question would be, do you agree there should be a group leader?
About group leader for the project, I think you mean it's not
Mhm.
obvious. The question is not clear for me. As I understood,
Mhm.
I okay. It depends on the skills again. Depends on the project. It's good for some type of the project to have a leader to
Okay.
guide everyone and give the informations and shows exactly what is the purpose and they're looking for what, or we can say sometimes need the contribution of the group members all together in during the project.
Well, you seem to be confused, Dr. Shiva. Don't you think there should be a group leader? Because a group leader would help out in, setting out the venue and, collecting everyone else. And plus, we need to have somebody to have a command on the subject. And only that person can filter out. Yes, Dr. Shiva, who would like to hear from you because I disagree with you. I think there should be a group leader, whereas your answers seem to me quite confusing. You seem to be taking sides of both the group leader and not having the group leader. Now, this is confusing. Could you just clarify?
I don't know what you're asking the question. Maybe I misunderstand your questions or you didn't get all my answers. I said it's not necessary all the type of the project to define the leaders because of the time that we are giving to the students are different and the type of the project that we are giving are different. It doesn't mean that necessary should be have a leader, I think so. This is what I believe.
Okay. So, fine. Let me just ask you a much simple question. Do you think only those students benefit from this group study who are weak at studies, or it can be beneficial for everyone?
Mm. Um, okay, it depends how we are going to define the student weaknesses or how do we want to define who are intelligent. This is, I think as a teachers, we have to set all the students at the same level. We cannot say someone are intelligent and they knows everything, and we don't need to ask many things from them, or the others they need more repetition. What I believe, I think it's good for both because those if they cannot learn so fast, it helps them to repeat the same activities to them and help them to learn faster as well.
Oh,
And
sorry,
it's good.
sorry, Dr. Shiva. I had to take some. I had to text somebody, Dr. Shiva. So could you please repeat what you said?
Um, okay, sure. I will say that it depends on the.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, would you
Well,
please
my
repeat the
question.
question?
Oh, well, weak memory, I must say, Dr. Shiva. Well, my question was, do only those people benefit from group studies?
What I said it. I'm not going to define someone intelligent or someone lazy in the class. I want to put all the students as equal and give the activities that can help both of type of the students in the class. Those who can learn faster can
Mhm.
help those one who are slower to study for learning these things in their
Mhm.
activity. These activities
Mhm.
help both of them at the same time to learn faster and share their idea together.
Okay, Dr. Shiva, I'm sorry. I'm feeling very sleepy. I had a very exhausting night yesterday. I'm so sorry. Okay, my last question. Can you give us some strategies for making group studies effective?
This depends on the. Uh, do you have any question?
Yes, the question was, can you share some strategies for improving group sessions?
Yeah, for group sessions, always there is some strategy. It depends on the course. It depends on the type of the questions that you want to ask. Then I'm trying to divide the peoples in the different groups and selecting the students. I'm going to select it by myself. I'm not allow the student to select their friends because it's easier. They know who are.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. This is biasness, Dr. Shiva. I don't agree to this. Do you think that's right? Do you think you're doing right when you're choosing somebody by yourself? You're doing favoritism? This is wrong. I think so.
I think what I believe that it will be better because I want to teach my students they have to learn to work with different type of the people, not just those one that they have experience and they know how to work together and they knows what is their weaknesses and their strengths. And because of this, they can help each other at that time. Whenever they are working, they can work together with the different type of the people. This is what I believe.
Really? Okay, so has it helped? somewhere, somewhere in your classes, has it ever helped? Can you quote an incident where it helped? Can you tell us about an incident where it helped, where it actually helped a particular student?
Okay, I'm trying also to help, but I don't know. Your question is not so clear. Which type of help you're asking? Okay, you mean that they have an activity. This is that helps them when they are working together because they can share their idea together. This is type of the help that it helps the students to learn faster and can do everything, can learn faster and share their idea, their knowledge, their experience together. This is what I believe. And if they need, and if your question is on the other side, you means that I'm going to help them during their activity. It depends on it. If they need any help, if they misunderstanding, and I see during the activity something is wrong, I'm trying to show the right way to them and guide them again to not do any mistake.
Okay, Dr. Shiva.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, I tried to end the presentation by just saying thank you to you abruptly. That okay, thank you. I've got another interview to be conducted, so I'm saying bye bye to you. So I was just saying farewell to you. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
So are we supposed to conduct the correct interview right now, Dr. Abnawaz? Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sadia and Dr. Shiva, for such a very wonderful interview. But this is not the wonderful interview. This is very pathetic interview. So Dr. Sadia imposed a lot of double barrel questions or imposing or leading questions or some biased answers while asking the questions, and Dr. Shiva was not feeling comfortable in giving the responses to Dr. Sadia Gondal. So now, I would request to Dr. Faizan to show the different responses on the polling after watching that particular pathetic interview. What are the different,
Sure.
views of the people,
Yeah.
participants? What was the most repeated problem or the issue during that particular interview between Dr. Sadia and Dr. Shiva?
Sure, we need to give it a minute for people to respond now. So, because earlier people responded based on their previous experiences. So I think now what you're asking is based on this interview, what
Okay.
do they think is the most important mistake or the most observed mistake in the interview? So for the people who are watching, please go ahead and then respond to the same question. You can either use that QR code or you can use this link that I've provided
Okay,
in
that's perfect, Dr. Fazan. So can we go for the quick 5 minutes interview between Dr. Sadia and Dr. Shiva? That would be a very amazing, wonderful, and unbelievable interview on the basis of different standards.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. But here is what I have received so far in terms of answers. So too
Okay.
many interruptions and then too many double barrel questions.
Okay,
Yes.
that's perfect. So 50%, or I think more people are saying that there are too many interactions and too many double barrel questions. But nobody is saying that there were some passive listening between both sides. And I think both were very involved during the
Yeah.
interview. So
I also
respondents.
want to, Dr. Lodi, I also want to say that we did not do the internet connection issue as part of the interview. So that was not like purposely, purposely done. So don't think that that internet issue was done because we wanted to include it into the mock interview. Now, I think that's why you see this too many interruptions as one of the highest response.
Okay, I can understand this is the problem. Today, here in at this particular, this is the peak time. Everyone is in home and people are watching the videos. And now at this particular moment of evening, the internet speed is very, slow. This is the problem. So same that Dr. Sadia was facing during that particular interview. That's why people are saying that there were too many interruptions during the interview. So no problem. So now we would go for another round of interview between Dr. Shiva and Dr. Sadia Gondal. So I hope the internet will be working very well. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Sadia and Dr. Shiva.
Thank you so much, and good evening, Dr. Shiva. How are you?
Thank
You're
you.
looking
Good
so
evening,
you're looking
Dr.
so good, and you're looking
Thank you.
fresh. And I hope the interview answers would be equally fresh, just like your smile. So, okay.
Hopefully.
First of all, thank you very much for taking out your precious time and joining us, and we owe to you that. Okay, over to first question, and my first question
Dr. Sadia, unfortunately, the times you are going to start the questions, your voice is gone
oh,
and I couldn't hear you.
I'm
Would
so
you please
sorry.
to repeat your question?
I would repeat my question. My question is, does the group study help in better understanding of the subject?
This is what I believe in all the type of the courses that I have. Almost I'm trying to, during that I'm doing the lesson, have a short sessions, short as a group project or group activities during the session. Because what I believe is that I think during that I'm teaching, it will be so boring for the students to hear me just I'm doing the presenting. That one it helps them during I'm doing some activity as a group activities, help the students at the same time to learn faster if they misunderstand or they didn't get understanding very well what I explaining during the lessons. They can understand on the activity because they are sharing their idea. They have a different ideas. They have a different experiences, and all of them they are combining all these ideas together to get the answers. And what I believe is that it helps them for learning faster, to not get bored, and that's so to encourage the students all the time to contribute in the class.
Okay, great. So that means you do not need to give them extra classes for extra preparation, right? I mean, you just prepare them in the rooms by just making them sit in groups, sessions, and that helps them out. Great. Well, I agree to you on this in this regard. Well, my second question is, do you think group study helps in getting better grades?
Um, okay, we can say it can be part of their grades when during that evaluate the students, but it doesn't mean that when they are doing those activities they can get over grades or they are A grades. Okay, because it depends. I'm looking them to see how they are going and working together, how they are going to share their ideas, how they are going to distribute their responsibility during they want to do some activity, because it's so important to see how they want, because it not doesn't mean that when I'm giving some people one or two students sitting and doing everything and the others just look at them. This is they have to learn how they share their idea, how they distribute this responsibility between themselves to find out the exact answers that we want them we are looking for it.
Okay, so that means the grading has nothing to do with group studies, right?
Yeah.
You agree on that? Okay, great. My next question is, do you think there should be a group leader in every group activity?
Okay, that's a good question. It depends on the type of the project that you are giving to the students. These ones can be different. Because when I'm giving a simple assignments during the class, just to show them how they have to work and understand better, and if they have a big project that during the semester they have to follow up are different. Okay, they need to have a leaders in the big project because they have to collect our ideas and guide at the same time, to guide them, to give their responsibility and show collect all this information together to come to me. In the simple ones, they can have a leader just the times that they share all this idea, because all the students has to contribute that for that
Mhm.
activity. And then it means they can just give one as a call as a leaders to come and combine all these informations to come and present to the class to give their results of their activity. It's good to have it because they can combine all this information. They can find out if anything is missing. They have a key. They are looking all those lists to see. They follow up all the process. If anything missing, that leaders can see it, because when they are so busy and they are looking on the project, maybe they miss some part of it. And because of this, that leaders can guide them and find out if any mistakes is there, to show them and guide them to come up and find the ways to correct that way, and do not do more mistakes during their activities and preparing that project.
Do you rotate the
Sorry, Dr.
positions of?
Sadia, I couldn't hear you. Yes.
I repeat. So, do you believe in rotating the positions of students in the groups as team leaders, or you always pick the best student as a team leader?
No, because it's a not good way always asking one
Mm.
person as a good students come and be the leaders. You have to give this opportunity to all of them to know everyone they have that ability, and they have to believe themselves. And because of this, I'm trying to select all of them in any sessions. One of them be the leaders and tries to come and combines all these informations to them, not just
Okay.
all the times good students.
True. That was a wonderful answer, by the way, and we expected the same answer from your side. Just last question: is it true that only those students benefit more from group studies who are weak in studies?
And what I believe, I think we cannot divide the students. What I believe, intelligent and someone weak, okay? Because it depends on the student. Someone learn faster than someone need more practice. Then that's not good words that you use for the students. Because of this, it's good for both of them, because those one who need more repetitions during learning something, it's good for them, because when they are working and discussing, they are learning from many people. They are learning from different students and learning here from different ideas and experiences. And that one helps them to understand better. And they are learning faster, okay? And those one who learns faster, okay, it's good for them the time, because when they learn, when I'm teaching, they learn what I did. It helps in another words. Maybe they need to explain it for their friends, and they use another words for their explanations in the class for their friends during they're doing the activities. Help those groups to share their ideas, share their knowledge and experiences there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Shiva, for your time and for your wonderful answers. We'll definitely be giving this
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sadia Gondal and Dr. Shiva, for this wonderful two rounds of different interviews, showing that in the first round of interview, the audience already asked that there were some problems, like some issues from the side of the interviewer, and the interviewee was also not comfortable. So in the second round of interview, all the people definitely compared that what was the difference between the first and the second round of interview. So thank you so much. And now I would like to request Dr. Faizan Ali to have some question, maybe some few one or two questions, because
Thank
we
you.
are just.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Lodi. So there are quite a few questions. Of course, now I see that people appreciate the mock interview quite a bit. Like it's a very good approach for conveying the message. Before we get into the questions, there's also several questions repeating about what are the different softwares for qualitative analysis, or what are tools. So I shared a link that is for the playlist on my channel, which has around 10 or 11 videos of different tools that we have done with Dr. Lodhi. Thematic analysis, this analysis, that analysis, a lot of stuff. So all those things you can watch in that list. And then now let's go into some specific questions. So Dr. Lodhi, it will also come on your screen. This question is from Sonal. What is a coding manual in qualitative research?
Okay, if we talk about the coding manual, it's mean you need to follow some pattern of coding. So there are different types of coding. If we talk about grounded theory, you go for the open coding, like the statement by statement coding, and then you categorize and also explore some relationship between the categories. You go for the axial coding, and then you should be very selective in further categorizing the things. Definitely, you need to go for the selective codings. So this is what we do in grounded theory. But if we talk about the thematic analysis, we also conduct different types of codings, and there are different examples of coding. But today, in because of the limitation of time, I'm not going to go into details regarding the coding, but you can watch my video on qualitative data analysis using NVivo software. So you will find the answer of your question, how to code these statements by using NVivo software. So that would be very wonderful video available on the channel of Dr. Faizan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lodhi. The next question is this one. What should be the tools helpful for data analysis if the data is collected by using open-ended interview techniques?
Okay, you can apply NVivo software. NVivo software is the king qualitative data analytical software, and I'm also certified trainer of NVivo software, NVivo 9 and 10. So NVivo software is very famous software. So there are other softwares available like Max QDA and Atlas TI. So these two softwares are very famous. You can also apply, and Leximancer software is also very famous, particularly for the web mining or social media mining. So it depends upon the nature of study what you are going to do. But NVivo software covers all the things like the analysis of your data from the interviews, focus group discussion, pictures, social media, websites. So you can do all these kinds of things in one single software using NVivo software. So NVivo is more recommended as compared to the other softwares.
Yeah, so I also want to say here, even though there are videos on my channel, Dr. Lodhi himself is very accessible. So if you want him to do a workshop at your university or at your, student union or whatever, reach out to him. He is very not only accessible but very humble, and normally does not say no to people. So I think he will be happy to come to a university or join and then conduct these workshops on different softwares related to qualitative analysis. Okay, so now we have another question from Asad. This is an interesting question. Getting data has always been a challenge. What tips can you suggest for getting time from someone who is not willing?
Okay, this is very important. If you're going to take the time from the people and without any consideration, without giving something which is, the other people is very interesting. So ultimately, why if somebody come to me and ask for my 2 hours, then why I will give my 2 hours of my life to that particular person without any consideration. So this is very important. And what we do in Pakistan, we also invite the company executives on some dinners, on some lunch to for the focus group discussion and for the interviews. And we also whenever we conduct the interviews, we go with some gifts in their offices. So it will also encourage the respondents that the other person is also thinking, and he's also caring about the participant, about the interviewee. So this is very important. And sometimes we go when we meet with some people with some strong references. So particularly in corporate studies, particularly if you're conducting the research on some organizations. So people are very busy, and you need to go with some strong references. So these are some kinds of things. And I also suggest my students, if you go to fill the questionnaire from your respondent, then you need to attach the packet of Lay's, Lay's fries, chips. So the person will eat the chips and tick agree, agree, disagree. So this is very important. So you need to facilitate your respondent. Thank you.
Sure. And I think this is a very good idea because when I was in Malaysia, I was involved with Dr. Kashif Hossain. He was doing some research on business tourism. So I used to go with some of my friends to collect data in convention centers and meetings and places like this. And sometimes those conferences were from really high level people like surgeons or heart surgeons or things like this. And you would be surprised to see how much people like the freebies, right? We call them freebies. And those can be very small things, like Dr. Lodi said, a pack of chips. And sometimes it can be a keychain, or sometimes it can be like a very nice fridge magnet or something like this. And that can really enhance your own response rate for research. Okay, Dr. Lodi, there's another question. I suppose that it's from our neighbors. Karthik Lakshman is asking tips to overcome gender-related issues in interview, like men interviewing women in sensitive topics. Can we use a woman assistant to accompany us to interview in such occasions?
Okay, yes, this is one of the option. You can also assist, if you're conducting some research projects on some, very sensitive topics. It depends. If the topic is more sensitive relating to the gender issues, then definitely you need to get some assistance from some woman, and the woman will be more comfortable with the woman. And we have also some other kinds of issues like females, particularly in Asian countries, Asian women, they do not like to give the interview on camera. So ultimately, you can convince them to record their voice, or otherwise, you may go for the document-based interview. You may circulate some questions and then instruct that particular respondent to give the answer in the written form. So that could be one of the option to have the information, get the sensitive information without asking. And you don't need to speak. You need to write the things and then share the document, and the other person will give just like the question in the exam, subjective questions in the exam. So that could be one of the option. Thank you. Dr. Fazan, I can not hear your voice. So I think your mic is mute.
Sorry, yes, sorry. So yeah, this question asked by several people also. I just picked up Sundar Khalid's comment, and she is asking about the validity and reliability issues of data gathered through interviews.
Okay, this is very important question, and maybe we will plan some other session for the validity and reliability, how to tackle this issue, and how to ensure the validity and reliability of the interview, because I cannot give the answer, but it needs some detail. So inshallah, in the future, maybe
Sure.
we will get some session.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And anyways, we are over time already for this session also. So we can, again, like I said in the start, please follow the Facebook page, Research Beast, so that way you will know whenever the new things are coming. I'll also send an email whenever the new session is planned for the validity and reliability issues of interview data. There's one interesting question which is relevant, I think, considering the current situation. This one is from Dilara, I think from Turkey. Does holding the interview online because of COVID-19 decrease the trust toward research?
Okay, we cannot say that it will decrease the trust level. it is not depending upon the nature of the study. It is not depending upon the nature of topic of the study. If you are conducting the study on COVID, and it will decrease the level of trust. So one thing we should keep in our mind, that trust built, it is based on the experience in the past. If you have good experience with a person, then definitely you will trust on that particular person. So experience leads toward trust. So if you know that particular person and that particular person knows you, then definitely if you had very good experience in the past, then he will be very comfortable to give the more sensitive information, even on online, or even on one-to-one face-to-face interview, or maybe on recorded basis. So it depends upon the past experience, and the guarantee, if you give that the information will purely be used for the research purposes, and I will keep the information, your interview, in my laptop, and my laptop is password protected. Nobody will breach the security and misuse that your interview, then definitely it will build the good level of trust between you and your respondent. So ultimately he will give you the information. Thank you.
So, thank you, Dr. Lodi. There's one last question. This is from Anam Tokir. She is saying, I think you did touch upon it a little bit, but the context was a bit different. What are some tips for recording the interview? Because many people do not allow to record sensitive information.
Yes, if you want to record some interview, it will also help you, because later on you can transcribe the recorded file. So recording of interview is much better as compared to just you ask the question and you write the things on the paper. So recording is much better. And when you go for the recording, you need to bear the cost of recording. So you need to get the trust level, as well as you need to ensure that particular person that I will record your information, and nobody will misuse your information, or maybe will upload your video on the YouTube after dubbing your voice. So this is the problem, unethical problem. So you need to ensure that particular person, you need to build your trust level, and after building the trust level, the other person will allow you for the recording of the interview. So it depends, and if some person between you and your informant is giving the guarantee of you that you will not misuse that particular information, then definitely through that particular guarantor, or with the help of that particular reference, you may go for the recording of the interview, and the other person will or may allow you to record the interview. So there are so many possibilities. It depends upon the relation. It depends upon the sensitivity of the information. It depends upon the level of trust and your past repute, or your past experience. So there are so many factors, but you can control all of them. Thank you.
Sure. I think that's a very good answer, Dr. Lodi. I also want to say that, it depends on the countries, because many times researchers in developing countries or underdeveloped countries do not really take care of the ethics of research, or, and these questions are part of the ethics. So, for instance, now if I want to conduct a research, I cannot go ahead unless my university's ethics board approve my research, so I cannot do that. And in that ethical approval application, I have to provide all the information on how long will I keep the data, what type of questions I'm going to ask, how do I ensure that the risks are at the minimum for my respondents, and the benefit is at the maximum, and all that stuff. So sometimes when I talk to people from developing countries, right, my friends, students, other people, I tell them that even if your university do not have an ethics board, or if it's not important, or if it's not compulsory, you should still go through that process so that you know what are the ethics involved in this research thing. And I completely agree to you. We have seen practices like where people interview, organizational personnel, and then put that stuff on YouTube or share it with other people. Not a good idea. Okay, there are more questions coming through. I don't know, Dr. Lodi, if you can take a couple of more questions or not.
Yes, we can take, but it depends, because a lot of people want to maybe leave the session
Yeah.
because of their
Yeah.
other commitments. But we
Sure.
can take Yes, no
Let's
problem.
take
We can
two
also
more
take some
questions.
written questions later on. We can
Sure.
give you.
Sure. Yeah, there are two more questions. Let's take two of them and then we can end the session. Okay. So one question is from Nanhua. Dr. Lodi, normally how much interviews are enough based on your experience?
Okay, it depends upon the nature of the study. Your if you are conducting the research from the vice chancellors of the universities, for example, in Pakistan, there are around more than 200 universities in Pakistan. So if you go for conducting the interviews of the VCs, vice chancellors, so ultimately you can reduce the number of sample, qualitative interview sample in your, because your respondents are very powerful. They have the complete information about their institute. They are on the top level management positions. So ultimately, the sample of 12, 10 to 12 people or 15 people will be sufficient. But again, I would suggest to you, it depends upon the nature of the study, what you are asking. So if you ensure that your respondent have the complete information, then you can reduce your sample size. So, but if you think that you need to include more people in your study, then you need to increase your sample size, and maybe you go for more than 50 respondents in your qualitative study. So normally, as compared to quantitative study, we have lesser size of sample in of interviews or the respondents in qualitative study. So maybe I also read a lot of papers. Only people conducted the interview, researcher conducted the interview of only 6 people, and they published the paper in top tier journal, impact factor journal. So it depends upon the nature of the study, nature of the respondent, level of the respondent, and the methodology you are going to apply. If you are going to apply grounded theory, then definitely you need to go for the point of saturation while you are on a theoretical sampling stage. So when the new information is stopped, and then you may stop for further collecting the information from the respondent. So this question is very subjective, and it depends upon the methodology, upon the level of respondent, and the nature of study.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lodi, for a detailed answer. There's two announcements I want to quickly make. One is I look at the questions, right? And many questions I didn't ask. And not only in this session, even generally, there are questions from students about what is a good sample size. I wanted to collect data on Facebook. Can I collect data on Twitter? That type of questions, right? So if you want to be a really good researcher, you need to be very smart. And by smart, what I mean is that do not make really rigid decisions. Don't do that. I mean, because research is an ongoing process, right? So let's say if think about any PhD student who started their PhD in 2019, August. There was no COVID. And then 2020, the entire year went through COVID. Now there are vaccines, but we don't know there's variants coming and all this. So a lot of stuff has changed. So if you decided something to do in 2019, you probably cannot do it now, right? So it's very important that as a researcher, you keep it flexible, right? Try to see what is happening around you and then get things done accordingly. Um, Sometimes what happens is you decide that you want to collect data from 25 people for interviews, but let's say after interview number 12, you realize that the information is being repeated. The same information is being repeated. So then there's no point of going and interviewing 25 people, right? Because you already reached that saturation. Just like what Dr. Lodi said, if you want to interview the problems of universities in Pakistan, there's 200 universities. They are all managed by Higher Education Commission. Probably all the VCs know what the problems are. So maybe if you interview 20 people, you would get an idea of what the problems are, right? So you don't need to go all the way down there. Then let's say if you want to conduct research on the tourism issues in Pakistan, but then you only collect data in Islamabad, not a good idea, right? So you have to be very flexible and try to make decisions on what you want to do, what you don't want to do. There's a very good video I did recently with Mr. Kashif, Mohammad Kashif Said from Pakistan, a qualitative research, a step-by-step example. I would highly recommend many students or even people who want to do qualitative research to watch that video. Why I'm saying this is because that video we started with one of his papers published, all the way from how did he come up with the idea to all the way how did he deal with the reviewers and publish it, right? So it actually talks about all these things that we are just discussing, some situation arising and then making a decision based on that situation. Dr. Lodi, you talked about 6 interviews. One of my papers just got published in Journal of Business Research. It's a top tier journal, 10 interviews, just 10 interviews. And that's because the idea was so novel, exploratory, that not many people even know about that idea. So there's no point of interviewing people if they don't know about it, right? I mean, so if I go to Pakistan and I start asking people, tell me about flying taxis, who have seen a flying taxi in Pakistan, right? So maybe I can interview some people who know technology a bit. They can tell me some stuff, but it's not a common situation, right? So I think just be very smart as a researcher and make your decisions accordingly. The last announcement is that I'm working with Dr. Jehan, and probably Dr. Lodhi is also on board. We are going to offer a certificate on research methods through University of South Florida. So keep an eye for it. We'll be doing some very interesting stuff in it, and then you can get a certificate from University of South Florida for that one. So just follow the Research Beast channel or me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Dr. Lodhi. So you'll get an idea whenever it's launched, so you can take part in that one. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Lodhi, for a wonderful presentation. It's always a treat listening to you and learning from you. Shiva is not here. Her kids were shouting and crying, so she left. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, Sadia, so much for the bad interview and the good interview. So thank you so much for that. And then in the end, I also want to thank every single person who watched the whole webinar with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.